Okay, so yesterday, news came out from DC of another DC film they want to do because at this point, unless in case they're already planning for, they're already planning for in the event that Justice League either tanks or not, because the whole thing of like, oh, we're doing a Joker movie that's its own thing that's going to be produced by Martin Scorsese, and we've got a few other things. This just came out apparently. So as you guys remember, a while back, about a couple months ago, actually last year I think, that Joe Manganiello, I hope I'm saying that last name right, was cast as Deathstroke for the Batman movie. It was announced he's still Deathstroke, but Matt Reeves is rewriting the Batman movie, so we don't know if he's still in there. But I guess DC's like, fuck it, we casted him. We cast him for Deathstroke. We need to use him for something, and that something is apparently a Deathstroke movie. Now, I kind of figured this would be coming out sooner or later because, yeah, Deathstroke's been really in the forefront lately. Not to the point where he hasn't been ruined well, not ruined, but he hasn't been overused like Harley Quinn has. He hasn't gotten to that level where it's at nauseum of it all. Where Harley Quinn is just kind of like, man, this isn't the same Harley Quinn anymore. It's still the Deathstroke character, thank God. They haven't overused. There aren't like 10. I know there aren't 10 Harley Quinn books, but they've really thrown that character right out the window. But Deathstroke hasn't gotten that level yet. But yeah, I think I think it's cool. And also the other thing is that this is the director of this supposed film will be the director of The Raid Redemption. Yeah, remember that awesome kung fu movie out of South Korea? That Raid Redemption. Yeah. So I expect nothing but crazy fights and gore. And here's the other thing is that I can see after, the backlash they got from the editing for Batman v Superman, I can honestly see them and also for Suicide Squad, I can honestly see DC after seeing, how well Fox has been doing with their R-rated superhero movies. I think it would be a ballsy move and probably in their best interest to make this Deathstroke movie an R-rated movie. I know it's we're still in uncharted territory with making R-rated superhero movies a big thing. And not to say they haven't been around. We've had Watchmen, Blade, several other R-rated films. But let's face it, guys, Deadpool and Logan, if it wasn't for Deadpool being as successful as it was, then, there wouldn't be a high demand for R-rated superhero movies. So that's kind of the big thing, is that there were, other superhero movies opened the door, but Deadpool, opened it up by a crack, and then Deadpool just kicked it wide open, and that's how we got Logan, and also apparently, I guess New Mutants is going to be R-rated, so, okay. Anyway, so I think it would be DC's best interest, because unlike the MCU, which can only really explore R-rated material in their Netflix and possibly their Hulu shows, because yeah, let's face it, Disney isn't going to allow an R-rated Marvel movie to ever happen. Let's just face facts now. But DC, on the other hand, I think with all this experimentation, especially with like the Joker movie, and let's not count our chickens before they hatch. I mean, they're just kind of going off the high of how well Wonder Woman did, and what was it? They're just kind of all holding their breath for the reception on Justice League. So that's kind of the big thing. But let's focus on this with a Deathstroke movie. I think it's a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. Deathstroke is one of my favorite DC characters, not just villains, but DC characters in general. But the thing is that you have to make this movie R-rated. This would be R-rated without the jokes. R-rated Deadpool without the jokes. A lot more violent. Because Slade Wilson is a very complex and very broken man. He may be one of the most badass assassin in the DC universe. But the thing is he's a very mentally complex character to him. And I'd really like to see them explore kind of like the stuff like, you could honestly have Hive in here. You could have Hive in this movie. And yeah, because the whole thing in the George Perez Deathstroke, when he introduced Deathstroke in Teen Titans, the big thing of the original reason of why Deathstroke had a vendetta against, Dick Grayson and the other Titans was because his son, Grant, became the Ravager and was working for Hive, and he died on his first mission. Thus, when Grant died, Slade took his son's mission and tried to continue his, not so much out of revenge, but more like, I'm going to, in honor of my son, I'm going to continue this line, my son's work. And that's kind of how it devolved into what it is now. Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of how it went. So I think it would be cool to have Hive in here, but I don't know if people would be like, "Oh, it's a Hydra ripoff," when really Hive isn't that. So this is my big thing, is that you've really got to really explore that Deathstroke is. He is not stable, even though he claims to be. There are some points where he is just whacked at it. In his own, he thinks he's sane, but he's not. That's the big thing. And yeah, he's no Deadpool. I mean, hell, Deadpool was a ripoff of Deathstroke. That's what Rob Liefeld always meant him to be. But yeah, I'm losing my train of thought here. But that's the thing, is that you really have to focus on. The best way to make a Deathstroke movie is kind of make it like a war movie or a gritty crime drama. That's kind of the two ways you can do it, because, yeah, Deathstroke's kind of a combination of Wolverine and Captain America. He's kind of a combination of the two, and it's he's a total badass, and you've really got to make these action sequences look good. And trust me, with a director like on the guy who did The Raid, with some of the best fighting sequences in movies, period, in my opinion, I think you've got a good chance of really doing something really cool. But yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that would you have Adeline, his wife, in here? I also think you should have, you've got to have Adeline in here. She wasn't also his commanding officer, she was his wife. And that was a really complex relationship. I think you should also have Wintergreen in this movie. Wintergreen should be in this movie. I don't know if they'll have his sons. That's the big thing. Will they have Grant, and more importantly, will they have Joseph, aka Jericho? That's a really, that's kind of difficult to say at this point. So, and again, just because it's got a great director doesn't mean, it could be a good movie, We've seen this multiple times, and plus, David Ayer directed several really good, interesting movies, some hit and miss, but the one I really liked from him was Fury, and I thought he was a great pick for doing a dark, gritty Suicide Squad film, but we didn't get that exactly. So this is kind of a tough nut to crack, really. So I'm fingers crossed, knock on wood and all that this is going to be a good movie. I just don't want them to screw up Deathstroke. Don't make him, like an anti-hero. Make him straight up why he is called Deathstroke. That's all I'm saying. So you guys tell me in the comments below. What do you guys think of a Deathstroke movie? Are you guys interested, not interested, and who would you want to see in this movie? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.